Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for showing up nice and early for our event today, where we'll be talking about this very exciting book, Economic Development Parables from Siam to Thailand, by someone very close to my heart and Thai studies heart, I think. อาจารย์วินัยวงศ์สุรวัตร อาจารย์วินัย is from he's an associate professor at the College of Management at Mahidol University, but he's a regular for some courses at Thai studies here, and I think the history department has also required his assistance from time to time on issues relating to, for Thai studies, is the courses relating to the Thai economy, Thai economic history, and issues dealing with, the Thai economy in general. And if I remember correctly, the history department once, I think at least once, invited Ajahn Vinay to talk to our graduate students about the use of statistics in history and such things. And he has been trained as an economist, right? With a PhD from Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University, and has been teaching in business schools, for his entire career. But then he keeps getting asked to come and help with us humanities, social science people, well, mainly humanities, the Faculty of Arts is humanities, who know very little, understand very little about mathematics and economics and how business goes and management and all that, right? So he has to come and teach for Thai studies every year, every semester, I think, and from time to time help out at the history department as well. As a historian myself, I can confirm that economic history is something that is quite unpopular among historians because we tend to be scared of math and we tend to feel that it's unmanageable. And I think my long-suffering brother, after trying to teach economics and statistics and math to humanities people in Thai studies and in history, and like being related to historians who like to talk about economic history but have no idea what they're talking about. Over the years, he has decided that he needs to be more proactive and actually like write something up, right? So that maybe we can come to a better understanding. And so he wrote this book and he got it published, and I looked at it and I'm like, this is an amazing book. I have never seen a book like this before in my life, because you read it and you're not exactly sure if it's an economic textbook or if it's a history textbook. It's, from the point of view of a historian, I would say it's economics with historical cases as case studies, which is amazing. Amazing for historians because it's the first time that you can read what, things that go on in Thai history, major issues that I talk about every year, like the Corvée labor system, tax farming and things like that. But you can understand it from like a real economist's point of view. And at the same time, I think if you're an economist, if you're working on Thailand, a lot of this is still very relevant in this century. And what's going on now, I think it would help you understand the strangeness of this country's economy much better. So I was like, you need to do a book talk on this. And so I convinced him to come and do a book talk for us this morning. And yeah, so before we get to other parts of this morning's event, and we do have a very exciting event ahead of us. I would like to invite Ajahn Vinay to talk a bit about his book for us. So yes, without further ado, I turn the floor to Ajahn Vinay. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everybody, and I'd like to thank Ajahn Wasana for that very kind introduction. It's a real privilege to be here this morning, and of course today, apart from Ajahn Wasana, we also have Ajahn Vanripang from the Economics Department at Thammasat University, who's going to help us discuss the book, and also Dr. David Malitz, who's joining us via Zoom. So I appreciate all the support, and thanks for being here this morning. And Mother as well, yes?
No, you need it
for the recording, yep. So I'll try to speak slowly, and hopefully the audio will be adequate. Okay, so I'd like to start my talk today going back to the 1980s. So I promise I'll finish on time. I won't overshoot my 20-minute time slot. But going back to the 1980s, okay, that is when myself and my siblings were growing up. And my mother is sitting right here, providing her support. And thinking back to our childhood, I imagine it would be a constant struggle for my mother, who came to Thailand. She met our father in the US and moved to Thailand to teach her 4 children to understand and speak English, especially when all 4 of us were attending a Thai public school. I know plenty of people, Thai friends, they move abroad and their sons and daughters can't speak Thai. And so for my mother to get all her sons and daughters to speak, read and write English, I think is quite a real accomplishment. So this was before the days when bookstores like Kinokuniya and Asia Book were everywhere. So somehow my mother managed to get her hands on high quality English books for children. Okay, and we started out learning English using this book on the left. It's Keywords. It's a Ladybird series. And these keyword books were stories of the brother and sister, Peter and Jane. And it was about the daily lives of these 2 children. Okay, they'd go to the beach, splash in the water with their dog Pat, and they play cowboy and Indian. And through reading these books, we'd memorize some vocabulary, we'd learn some grammar, and learn how to string together words into a sentence. However, these Peter and Jane books were actually quite inadequate. And the reason was that we found the stories of these 2 children rather plain and boring. And often when Mother asked us to come read Peter and Jane, we just found it downright boring. Okay, so luckily we had access to another set of books, and this was also Ladybird series, but it was Ladybird Classics. And so these Ladybird Classic series were adventure tales about that were retold, okay, for a young audience with simplified language. We grew up reading books like Gulliver's Travels, Treasure Island, and Wind in the Willows, and A Christmas Carol. And these were all written in simple language, so children, young people could understand. We listened to Mother reading these books to us, and we also read them ourselves. And I believe we learn most of our English through reading the Ladybird classics, these stories, these adventure tales. Okay, so it is I drew a lot of inspiration when I was writing this book, Economic Development Parables from the Ladybird books. It is my opinion that most of the economics textbooks that are used widely in colleges and universities are similar to the Peter and Jane textbooks. They teach basic economics, supply and demand. They show you the concepts, how to draw the graphs, and they do a fine job teaching students the economic concepts. However, they're not very memorable, and students, once they learn these concepts, they forget them very quickly. The learning experience isn't particularly thrilling, so it doesn't kind of induce them to come back for more, to learn more about economics after reading these textbooks. So the inspiration behind writing this book, Economic Development Parables, was to kind of write a Ladybird classic series to help students of economics actually learn economics, not through memorizing vocabulary, but instead through stories. And learning a subject like economics or any other discipline, be it music, computer programming, psychology, I think it's similar to learning a new language. Right? Every discipline has its own language, and by learning a new language, you're able to think in a different way. You acquire new lenses through which to see the world, and therefore the best way to learn a subject like economics is probably not only through learning the graphs and the concepts and the theories and the models, but also through good stories. So going back to my days in university, when I was pursuing my degree in economics, I was actually never exposed to any economic histories at all. The field of economics has evolved into a very technical field, very mathematical. So course after course, I sit in the classroom learning abstract mathematical models, deconstructing models and learning how the models work. And when it comes time to apply these models to the real world, the input would be rows and rows of data, just numbers, which are very detached from the people and the stories behind these numbers. So that was the extent of my economic education. So when I returned to Thailand and started teaching in business school, I quickly realized that nobody was interested in spending a whole semester learning about these abstract mathematical models that describe economic phenomenon. Okay, it was just too niche. The students didn't have the mathematical background to learn these models, and they wanted something more practical, more interesting to them. So I had zero opportunity to talk about most of the economics that I learned in graduate school, and instead I resigned to teaching business statistics, which was kind of a side hustle that I learned myself when I was in graduate school. However, later on I began to receive invitations, like Ajahn Wasana mentioned, to give talks about the economy of Thailand and give some lectures about economic development history. And actually the Faculty of Arts at Chulalongkorn actually was one of the first programs that invited me to teach a semester-long course on the economic development history of Thailand. And that's going back many, many years. At the time I was young and adventurous, so I said, okay, sure, I'll try doing that. And I guess you can imagine the mad scramble that I went through trying to prepare a 3-hour lecture on economic history of Thailand at the time when I really hadn't learned anything about the subject at all. And so the learning curve was very, very steep. Luckily, there were resources, many textbooks written at a level that was accessible to me. So I could use those as background for my lectures. And I discovered that some of the best economic history textbooks were actually written by economists, Ajahn Pasuk and Chris Baker, for example. And so I just picked up these books, and every week myself and my students would read a few chapters and discuss the books, and we'd learn the history and economic development of Thailand together week by week. So as time went by, I was reading these chapters, and surprisingly, I began to notice that lurking behind these stories that we're talking about with the actual models and concepts and economics that I had learned in graduate school, the stories were just in the foreground, but in the background, there were these ideas, these concepts, these models about how people make decisions, how buyers and sellers interact in the markets, the importance of incentives, the role of scarcity in how deciding how resources are allocated. So I could see these models that I'd learned in graduate school lurking behind the stories that I was discussing with my class. And after teaching for a while, I actually marshaled the courage to summon these economic concepts and models to the foreground and actually bring them and discuss them in class with my students. And boy, was that a new experience. Sometimes I was successful in explaining these concepts to my students, and it was a terrific experience. Great fun for me, and really enjoyable for the students as well. Sometimes the discussion turned into a disaster, and I could just see from the eyes of my students that they really had no idea what I was talking about. Okay, but again, to quote my mother, at the end of the class, everybody walks out alive, no matter what a disaster the lecture in class would be. And so that kind of gave me encouragement to continue talking about these economic concepts. And through this experience, I came to realize that the stories, the history of the economic development of Thailand was similar to the Ladybird Classics. It was kind of the Ladybird Classics for learning economics. And I just figured out that these stories that you'd read about in the history textbooks were excellent vehicles for introducing really fundamental ideas in economics. So, for example, the tax farming system in early Bangkok, that was a fantastic way to talk about the power of incentives and also the dangers that could come along with providing too strong incentives as well. Okay, the signing of the Bowring Treaty and the opening, the booming of the rice cultivation of Siam was a great example of teaching students about scarcity, right, and trade. The shifting techniques of rice cultivation was a great example in teaching students about substitution, input substitution, right? How you can substitute labor for capital, capital for labor, and also about cost, different costs of production and cost minimization. And of course, the orchard tax in early Bangkok and its relationship to the breed selection of durian. That was a great way of introducing the concept of external cost and how taxes affect behavior in an economy. So these were insights that I developed from teaching and having an opportunity to learn some history and interact with students in the classroom. So yeah, it's my first book, and going back, last night I was looking through the chapters, and I realized that in some chapters I was more successful than others in telling the stories. I think the book is at its weakest when I get into too much detail and get too much involved in the technicalities of the story that I'm telling. So usually the simpler the story, the better the chapter is, in my opinion. So to quote the martial arts master, Bruce Lee, he says that simple is better. Right? In martial arts, the simpler your moves, the better. And it's probably also true with teaching economics. The more you can simplify the story, the clearer the lesson becomes. However, there's also this danger, right? If you simplify too much, there's the risk of turning the historical episodes or the economic ideas into something that is too simplistic, right? And in the end, I could end up writing just another Peter and Jane book if I simplify too much. So I think there's this sweet spot somewhere between the Peter and Jane keyword series and the really advanced, complicated novels like Gulliver's Travel by Jonathan Swift, written in his original form, very complicated, hard to understand. So in between those two extremes, I think there's a sweet spot, something that is simple enough to use as an introductory, gentle introduction to students who want to learn some economics, want to learn some history, but at the same time complex enough to make the story compelling, right, and memorable, so you don't feel like you're learning something that's too simplistic and superficial. And I think the Lady Bird classic series really hit the sweet spot in the bullseyes, and I hope that my attempt in writing something similar, this book, Economic Development Parables, at least some of the chapters weren't too far off the mark. Okay, thank you.